Okay, this video is going to talk about non-physical alien implants. And actually, I think I do have a small physical implant. Actually, I think it's semi-physical because it just kind of appears and reappears whenever it feels like it. Yeah, and I don't know, I maybe could have had it all my freaking life. But I only noticed it several months ago when I kept moving my tongue around and I kept feeling this little teeny tiny little hard volleyball thing. Like right now, if I move my tongue around, if I keep moving it around, eventually I may be able to pop it back out and feel it. So anyway, I think I may have one semi-physical implant that's in my mouth. Well, it's physical, but it just seems to kind of reappear and disappear. But most all my implants are non-physical or ethereal. And you may ask me, well, how do I know that? The reason why I know that is because I was awake when they put it in. When they put them in. I have several implants, non-physical implants. But anyway, this picture right here is Julio. He's a gray alien that appeared behind the couch when I took a picture of my mom. And I didn't notice him in the picture till several months later, till I was at Barnes & Noble's and I was looking through my camera and I was just like, holy shit. That's when I saw the gray that appeared behind my mom on the couch. And I did finally see him. I think he's just a little peon gray. I don't think he is involved directly with my physical abductions or astral abductions, but I have no idea. You know what I mean? I have no idea, but I think he is just a peon little gray. But anyway, and I did actually see him in full form, and he was much creepier in full form because I didn't see his whole body, only his head. I saw his whole head, and his eyes, you know, came all the way, down. Like all the way down. And his skin was like this white. Almost like white. Maybe a little off-white, but his skin was totally white. And like I say, he was much creepier to see him. I saw him one time when I just happened to upon waking up, it's like boom, he was there. But yeah, so he looks more like a Julio in this little picture, but of course in real life, what he really looks like, I don't know if I would exactly name him Julio. But because he only showed 2/3 of his face here, to me he just looks like a Julio. And actually, from this cheap camera, you may not be able to tell, but there's another little orb right here, and it looks like his ear. It looks like he has a left ear or a right ear, but it's not. It's just another orb that attached to his face behind him. It's another orb right there, like a little ET orb, and you can see his big black eyes in the middle. But anyway, yeah, so this is Julio, the little gray bean. See, this is his little eyes right there. Come over here like that. But yeah, he was pretty creepy in real life. And one of the reasons why they're so creepy is because, it's like they show no expression on their face, so then it's kind of like, you can't really tell. Well, but actually you can read their energy. I know he's benevolent, you know what I mean? You can pretty much read their energy and tell, but it's just kind of weird because, it's not like they ever really have facial expressions on their face. But, so anyway, the reason why I know I have non-physical implants was because, and I'm sure they've been tampering, I have no doubt they've been tampering at my bedside, putting in implants and taking them out and putting new ones back in all my life. But when you're stuck in the matrix, you're not going to see shit. You're not going to know shit. You're not going to see shit. You're not going to see your tampering. Even if it was right in your face, you would not see it. So you pretty much have to get your head out of the damn matrix. And of course, well, for me it took special powers all the way from age 13 to age 38. Like a certain little nudge. And at the age of 38, that's when the veil completely lifted. And then it was like, uh, it was still about a year and a half after that when I knew the Greys were in my house. So when the veil completely lifted, I still didn't know the aliens were in my life until a couple years later, or maybe about a year and a half later. And then after that, I mean, they can't hide from me. I know every little thing they do, except if they do tamper with me when I'm totally sleeping, and if I wake up and I don't feel I don't see any kind of bruises or anything, and I don't feel anything weird on my body or whatever, then, I would have no way of knowing. And they do that, I guarantee you. They come in the middle of the night sometimes, some groups do anyway, and tamper with me. And, but normally, they leave marks. I mean, normally there's going to be something. Well, like for instance, the other day, it was actually about 3 weeks ago, I woke up and some kind of beings totally did something to my private part all damn night. I mean, I was like freaking aroused. I was swollen. I mean, I don't think I've ever been that. It was really weird. Like, I don't know what the hell they did, but I mean, I was swollen and everything, and I was so freaking aroused, and I had nerves in areas that I didn't even know, there should be nerves in, if you're a woman, you know where there's nerves and where there's not nerves. But I had nerves in areas of my private part where it's like, what the heck? I didn't even know I had nerves, in that part or whatever of my coochie, you know what I mean? So yeah, and I didn't know they came and tampered with me until I woke up, and I felt all of that weird stuff in my crotch. And another time, just not too long ago, I think it's been about longer than a year now, I woke up and they tampered with me at night, and I had 3 little fingertip bruises on my right arm, my right kind of shoulder arm. And, but I still thought, okay, I guess I must have bumped into the doorway. It still took me about 7 days to realize, oh my God, I know what the heck those are. Those are freaking little gray fingertip bruises, and they were sore as hell too. I guess sometimes if they come tamper with you at your bedside, they move you around, and actually I did catch them. I have it on my tape recorder. I did catch them. This was a couple years ago. I caught them tampering with me about 45 minutes after I fell asleep. A few Greys came to my bed, and I caught them because I was like sitting there like moaning and stuff, like as if they were turning me on this side and turning me over on this side. And I caught them on my video recorder, and they were making like little noises. Like some of the noises kind of sounded like bumblebee noises, and kind of fluttering of like a bird wings, noises like that. And yeah, I have no idea what they did, but they definitely, yeah, I have no doubt. Some of these beings, they think we're a rat. Like rats are to humans, we are to them. We're like a pet rat that they're curious about. And I'm not saying all the beings exactly think that or treat us like that. But, like, whatever group that was that came to my bedside and was, like, flipping me over this way, and I was, like all moaning and shit, because they were trying to flip me over or whatever. I have no doubt. Types like that, I think Carla Turner is right. I think some of these groups, and I'm not saying all of the groups, I'm just saying a lot of them, I think they are, like, interloping little farmers. And, of course, some of them probably have the right to mess with us, because maybe, I kind of believe that they did create us, I mean, I still believe in a God, but I believe it was them that created humans in this physical fake dimension. The Matrix and all that. But anyway, these beings, they can't hide from me now. And anyway, so it was after my awakening, when I was, let's see, about 3 years ago, after my awakening that I knew that the Greys were in my house, it was about 2 to 3 weeks after that when I had the physical abduction. And then it was a few days after that was when they came to my bedside three different nights in a row, like right when I laid down. I didn't even fall asleep or anything. I mean, I was totally awake. And they knew I was awake. It's like they want me to know. They wanted me to know, hey, this is what we're doing to you. It's like they wanted me to know. Because otherwise they would have waited till I fell asleep. Okay, so after that physical abduction, and I can talk about that later, that was around April 4th. I may be a week off, and that was in 2013, around April 4th, on a Thursday morning. And so anyway, it was after that physical abduction. It was like 3 nights in a row. I think about 2 to 3 days lapsed. And then it was like 3 nights in a row. A couple beings came to my bedside, and one of them swabbed the left side of my mouth. And then it was like the next night, one to 3 beings came to my bedside, and they literally, I was laying on my stomach, and they literally hovered over me, and it felt like there were about 3 Greys, and those beings felt kind of more male, but kind of androgynous still. And they were like, and they were like putting an implant, non-physical implant, on the top back part of my head. And like I say, I was laying on my stomach, and the whole time I was thinking, man, I'm not even gonna. I wanted to try to go to sleep, but I just couldn't because I was so distracted by them doing what they were doing. And I tried to tell myself, okay, just sit, just lay still and hurry up and go to sleep. And it lasted quite a while. It took them quite a while to put it in. It was like three little hands, or 3 little Greys. They were going at it, putting this implant in the back of my head, the top back part of my head. And the cool thing was, I could actually feel my neurons firing. I don't know if you call it firing or misfiring, but like stoof, 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 stoof. Yeah, it was so cool, man. When they were putting that implant in, it was like stoof, 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 stoof. I can feel my neurons shooting off in my brain, but it was so delicate, it didn't hurt. Oh, I could totally feel it. Totally feel it. And I was totally awake. But it didn't hurt at all, but it just kind of felt weird, but it was neat. And then, but anyway, the other implants I have, I also was awake, and they put one on the left side of my knee, and then I think I have one in my left hip, and I definitely have one in my left ear. I don't know about the right ear, but I definitely have a non-physical implant in my left ear, and lots of times, while I'm awake, they'll come to my bedside, and they'll replace it with another non-physical implant. And the funny thing is, they'll go right through my earplug too. I mean, I felt them pull out my earplug a little bit and put the implant right in my left ear. It was pretty cool. And they do that sometimes. So anyway, and I think I have some more. But anyway, those are the ones that I can think of right off the bat. My left ear, the top of my head, and my left knee. And I know I have a couple others, but yeah, it's really weird. I think I have some weird implant in my mouth too, but I can't feel it all the time. I just really got to work at it and move my tongue around at the bottom of my mouth, and sometimes I can bring it up. This little weird, round, little hard thing. But another thing too, one time I woke up with a little implant-looking thing, I don't know what you call it, on the top of my eyelid. And it was kind of anomalous, and I called it a dissolvable implant. Of course, I don't really know if it was, but I called it a dissolvable implant, a dissolvable physical implant. And so, anyway, so when I woke up, I think it was around 11, I noticed it on my right eyelid, and then it was like by 8 or 9 o'clock that night, it went away. So that's why I called it a dissolvable physical implant. But anyway, The government's not going to come out and tell you all this, like, oh yeah, we think the whole world is being implanted by non-physical implants. You know, they don't want you to know that. And it's probably true. I mean, most people cannot see they're tampering. They cannot see it. They're in a trance. The general population is in a trance. They are totally in a trance. If a gray came to their room, I mean in physical form, and was in their face, they would still not see it. You know, they would totally not see it. But, and of course the government, they want you to think that they're physical. You know, they don't want you to know that they're just like bebopping around, all invisible, all totally invisible, ethereal, non-physical, but yet they can still slice your head off in the bed if they really wanted to. They could totally chop your head off in the bed, physically, if they wanted to. All the while, standing there invisible. They could still do that. I guarantee you. I know that because some of the things they've done to me with their technology, they like slapped me on the arm one time, just sitting here on my couch, and they like slapped me on my neck, and it like freaking burnt. But I mean, you know, it wasn't like hardcore pain. But yeah, just think, if they turn that technology up, their ethereal technology, whatever they have, yeah, they could totally slice your head off or your arm off. And then, of course, you got to think, well, duh, of course they could do that. If they can sit there and mutilate a cow, then yes, they can do that to human beings too. But I'm sure if they do that to human beings, that's probably far and few between. Supposedly that has happened before. I'm sure it doesn't happen often, but who would ever really know? But, you know, there are a bunch of good groups that try to protect us from the really bad aliens. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some really bad aliens out there, you know, that look like, you know, the Greys. Or, you know, similar to the Greys. I'm sure there's some of those bad little shits out there that probably would like to do that to us or whatever, but some of them, you know, probably get stopped by other groups, the good groups that overlook all that activity or whatever. But another thing I was going to talk about, okay, the implants, alien implants. Trying to think, I don't know if I said everything. Well, so anyway, you know, the government, they want you to think that these beings are physical. You know, they want you to think, they want you to believe the propaganda that they're physical and they're permanent to this dimension and they're over there hiding behind the bushes. They want you to think that. They don't want you to know all this other information that they just come bebopping around, invisible at your bedside. But this has nothing to do with implants, but this was kind of cool. Not long after, you know, my physical abduction, actually I had another one 15 months later or whatever on January 29th, but I can talk about that later. But one little gray, he was just kind of, I had one little night, one night of several beings that just kept like messing with me in the bed, and they were just like playing around with me, like they were not trying to do anything medical or anything. But I had one little gray that put its arms through my sheets. Two arms just like robotically went through my sheets on the left side of my bed, and I was sitting there feeling, you know, its wrists and arms, and I was in a semi-awake state, semi-groggy state, and I think the gray was messing with my head. He was trying to, or she, actually it felt kind of androgynous, felt more like a she. She was trying to make me think that, it was my cats. And so I was thinking, wow, are my cats doing that? And then, of course, after I woke up, I was like, whoa, I know that was the gray that did that. And I felt his arms, or her arms and wrists, and they felt really, really hard, like a 2x4. Yeah, so it's really cool how they can do that. And then I had, around the same night, or actually around the same time frame, there was these beings that, I don't know if they could have maybe been flashbacks of other abductions, but these little angelic kind of beings, they weren't grays, but they were angelic kind of beings, and they just kept touching me. Like 6 o'clock in the morning, I was trying to fall back to sleep, and they just kept touching me, like touch, touch, touch. They kept touching my face and my body and my head and stuff. And every time they touched me, it's like I would see their little face. It's like their face would pop up, like bam, bam, bam. Every time they would touch me, you know, I would see their little face in my mind. It was really cool. And that's how I see a lot of them. A lot of them would just come to me with my eyes are closed and show themselves to me. But I have had physical encounters with these beings, with my eyes open, and I can talk about that later. But yeah, they were really cute. They were really playful. Like, I don't think they were tampering with me, medically wise, but yeah, they were really cool. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say was, after they put those implants in, it was, well, this has nothing to do with the implant, but it was 3 consecutive days. They swabbed my mouth on one night. The next night, they put the brain implant in at the top of my head. And then the third, actually that was in the morning though, on a Saturday morning. And they ran, I was also laying on my stomach. And they were running a probe, like all robotically, like up and down my private part. Yeah, like my thingy, They're running it like up and down, like all robotically. And I couldn't really figure out what they were doing. And this one woman, she told me, she said they were probably giving you a medical exam. And I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. Yeah, so that does make sense, because I know that little being wasn't being a pervert. I mean, yeah, the reptilians are perverts, and I have a lot of experiences with that, with them. But these little gray beings, they're not, at least the ones that hang out with me, they're not sexual, they're not perverts, you know what I'm saying? So it does make sense they were giving me an exam, because they can sort of, see through all of your physical body and stuff. And that was probably, it felt like a probe. And the little probe was, probably had a lot of light on it or something. But yeah, so that's how I know that I have a lot of non-physical implants in my body, was because I was totally awake when they put them in. It was fun. I love all my tamperings. And something else I was going to say about the implants. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Now, my left ear implant, I know one thing that it's being used for. Well, one thing, they're literally using it to tell me when they're going to tamper with me. They have done that before. They activated it, and it was like so annoying. This was a couple years ago. It was so annoying. I mean, it was totally electronic, like, it wasn't just normal buzzing or ringing. It was totally like, electronic. It was so loud. That night, I didn't go to bed till 4:15 a.m., and so they didn't even activate it. They didn't activate it till midnight, and it went off the whole time until I lay down at 4:15. They activated that implant, and it also it broke in on the radio. I was trying to listen to Coast that night, which I don't do very often because that's too late for me now. I normally, am a day person now, so I don't really listen to Coast a lot. But I happen to have this old radio in my room, and I happened to try to listen to it, and I had to turn it off because when they activated that implant, it was totally like cutting in on the radio. So yeah, it's amazing how these implants are non-physical, but they work just like, they work better than any kind of physical device. They work a lot better. And so that's one thing they're doing. And also, they're telling me information. They're telling me, like a few months ago in March, a female being came forward and talked to me in the morning time in my left ear. And basically, she sounded like a human. She sounded like totally human, talking English. And she told me that all of my virtual reality experiences, all my dreams, all my life, which most of all of my dreams are virtual reality or lucid, very clear, lucid intricate, detailed, long. Some are all virtual reality, some are semi-virtual reality, but they're all very, very, very realistic and very clear, very detailed, very intricate. I've had these kind of dreams all my life. She basically told me that all of them all my life have been made for me and created for me, which made so much sense to me. I think I would have figured that out on my own, I have no doubt. But I'm glad. I mean, I have all these kind of dreams, I mean, every day, every day, every day. And eventually, when I get done talking about all my abductions, I can talk about all the awesome virtual reality lucid dreams that they give me every morning, night, or evening, or day, or evening, depending on when I sleep. And, yeah, so basically, that's what that implant is used for. And actually, when they activated it, to tell me that they were going to tamper with me, when I lay down at 4:15 a.m., this felt like a female being. It totally felt like a female. And I laid on my right side, and I had my eyes closed, and all I could see was, I mean, I was kind of nervous, because I didn't know if I was going to get some crazy abduction or what, which I didn't, of course. But the being just kind of leaned there, and I had my eyes closed, and she was like waving this, like, phew, 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 like all these flicker of lights. I saw all these flickers of lights, like white, bright lights, and I had my eyes closed. And I knew she was there. I knew she was tampering with me, and she told me she was going to tamper with me by, you know, activating my implant. But, yeah, I just told myself to go to sleep, and I did. And so I don't know if she did anything else besides throwing the strobe lights at me, the white, bright strobe lights. And like I say, I don't know if she was just checking my brain or what. But yeah, so that's what she did. And she told me that she was going to tamper with me by activating, you know, she activated my left implant. Now, I don't know what my knee implant, what they would be doing with that. Or other implants like on my side or whatever. But also, in the top of my head, that implant, that could be used for like, you know, telepathic messages as well, or, you know, talking to me telepathically. That could be used for that as well, but now I'm thinking it could be used for when they pull me out of body, when I'm totally awake, like on the couch, or once I lay down and they take me out of body by some kind of technology, and then that's how they're creating these awesome virtual reality dreams for me. That's one of the ways that they're doing it. And see, they could also be using that head, that brain implant, to do that as well. I can talk about more about that later. But also, what I was going to say was, I don't know what they did, but this was a little over a year ago. I had something, I don't know if it was an implant or what the heck it was, on my left stomach. Something that just kept giving me these weird sensations. And just weird sensations, and it only lasted, I don't know if it was some kind of implant, what the heck it was. But it kept giving me weird sensations for like, I want to say a little over a month. And then those sensations finally went away. Which was good, because I hated that sensation. Yeah, they probably put like a little baby, stuck a little baby in there or something, little alien baby. But I don't know, it was just weird. But yeah, so far, the only thing weird is going on was basically nothing. Yeah, I still have my implants, but they haven't given me any new information since March, since they told me that all my life they've been creating all these dreams for me, which is obvious. After she told me that, all these dreams, all these virtual reality dreams came back to me. I mean, like bam, 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 bam. Oh yeah, I remember that one when I was 8 years old. I remember this one. I remember that one. I remember this one. I remember that one. But now I'm so conscious of them. I mean, they're totally awesome, but I can talk about those later. Okay, well, till next time. Bye.